The morning sky, adorned with a heavy shroud of clouds, lazily drifted over the landscape, seeming entangled in the majestic spears raised toward the unseen sun. Positioned atop the hill, troops stood in meticulous formations, their armor glistening with morning dew. Below, patient and stoic, the cavalry awaited, reins tightly gripped as horses stood in check. Down the slope, less than a mile away, the opposing force amassed on the clear field, with the Tiber River and the Roman capital looming behind them. Constantine, mounted on his steed, traversed the ranks stationed atop the hill, making his way to the front. Soldiers acknowledged his presence, tapping shields with swords in rhythmic cadence, rising with each stride of the emperor's mount. From his elevated viewpoint, Constantine surveyed his soldiers, each shield bearing the intertwined Chian row, forming the sacred cross. The preceding night, amidst the wooded sanctuary, Constantine experienced a divine revelation. The intertwining letters Chi and Rho, forming the name of Christ, adorned the night sky, accompanied by the prophetic inscription, "In this sign you will conquer." The luminous vision stirred a fervent inspiration in Constantine. Aflame with divine guidance, he returned to his camp, where, still elevated by the celestial sign, he hastily depicted the symbol on parchment. Summoning commanders and generals, he proclaimed, "In this sign we shall enter battle, and Rome will be conquered. Let this symbol grace every soldier's shield." This insignia, more than mere ornamentation, marked a profound distinction between Constantine's army and that of Maxentius. Constantine now believed that divine providence guided his hand, foreseeing a rebirth and reform of the Roman Empire under the influence of Christianity and the indwelling spirit. Now, at the front line, standing at the hill's edge, Constantine surveyed the sprawling panorama. Before him lay a defensive tableau orchestrated by his adversary, Maxentius. The skyline of Rome, veiled by oppressive clouds, rested beneath the weight of formidable Aurelian walls. The Tiber, flowing from west to east, presented an imposing natural barrier. To the west, the stone Milvian Bridge, once Rome's sole gateway from the north, lay in ruin, a victim of Maxentius's relentless defensive preparations. Its shattered abutment, strewn along the riverbanks by Maxentius's soldiers, held no strategic value. Yet the legions of infantry extended to the broken bridge, stretching the defensive forces thin. To mount defensive forays from Rome's side, a makeshift pontoon, rickety and hastily crafted, held its precarious position on the river's eastern expanse. Meant as the lone crossing, its narrow frame betrayed its transient nature, never intended for the role of escape. Maxentius, it appeared, harbored a staunch resolve to hold his stance and safeguard the riverbank at any cost. His commitment etched in additional bulwarks, ramparts, ditches, and foreboding palisades, conspiring to bar direct access to the water's edge. Maxentius's army, nearly double Constantine's, spanned the riverside, a bastion poised to safeguard the crossing. Archers lined the back, infantry brandishing raised spears, and Maxentius himself, in armor, surveyed his forces from the midst of the cavalry near the wooden pontoon bridge. Constantine assessed the formidable defences, contemplating the precarious balance of advantage and peril. The elevated terrain afforded him strategic advantage, yet numerical inferiority loomed large. A profound dilemma gripped him. Engaging in battle meant forsaking avenues of retreat. The river blocked escape to the south, and the hill made retreat difficult. There was no escaping it. The battle had to happen, and today was the day. In consultation with seasoned commanders and generals, Constantine, a veteran of many campaigns, weighed the grim arithmetic of war. The die had been cast, the battle plan forged in the crucible of strategic insight held firm. There would be no deviation. Cantering back to the ranks, he confronted his soldiers. Despite numerical odds, the sight of Constantine's army, bedecked with the resplendent white cross, resonated mightily. Riding along the front line, his voice thundered across the expanse. "Sons of Rome, today we teeter on the precipice, ready to clasp destiny's hand and etch our valor onto the annals of world history. For months we've traversed this vast empire, dense forests, unforgiving swamps, turbulent rivers, towering mountains, all conquered. In this shared odyssey, forged in the crucible of hardship, our legacy is not just etched on landscapes, but seared into the very soul of this empire, our spirits steeled. Look around. Witness the flames in your comrades' eyes. Feel Rome's powerful rhythm in your brothers' veins. We are the beating heart and essence of this glorious Roman Empire, valiant defenders of its expansive lands and its enduring legacy. Behold the cross on your shields, not a sign of submission, but a rallying cry against the encroaching darkness. Let it be a symbol of our defiance, a thunderous declaration to the skies that Rome endures. Beloved brethren, let the fire of passion surge within, igniting courage's mighty inferno. May the cross on your shields guide us through the valley of the shadow of death, proclaiming we are the mighty sons of Rome, united, invincible, and eternal. With these words, Constantine stirred his troops. A primal roar erupted, echoing like a lion's triumphant cry. Spears thumped the ground, swords reverberated against cross-adorned shields. Eyes ablaze, warriors stood ready for battle. Constantine, at the helm, raised his sword, gesturing towards Rome. Emperor Maxentius, burdened in unwieldy armor, slouched on his horse. Unaccustomed to the weight, discomfort festered, necessitating constant adjustment. Surveying his impeccable troops, a resolute defense extended beyond sight. The Tiber's banks were fortified, a staunch barrier. Though not a seasoned commander, Maxentius felt assured. Confidence swelled, yet underlying anxiety loomed. Adjusting his armor, he glanced back to Rome, his legacy. The only path, the wooden pontoon bridge, stood guarded by his assembled might, cavalry, and praetorian guards. Abruptly, from the tree line ahead, horsemen emerged, at first a trickle, then an unrelenting torrent thundering toward Maxentius's troops. The full force of Constantine's cavalry charged with relentless speed directly at Maxentius's mounted troops near the wooden bridge. The battle had commenced. "Let them come to us," declared a general. "We must maintain our line." As the horsemen materialized into an overwhelming wave, charging headlong toward Maxentius's forces, a hushed anticipation settled over the battlefield. The general's orders, bellowed in what felt like slow motion, urged the men to stand firm, take the impact, and repel the oncoming onslaught. Time seemed to stand still, the world muted, the moment of stillness stretching for what seemed like forever. And in this surreal moment, the calm and stillness were broken, the clash of horses, men, and weapons rupturing the air. Maxentius, observing this crescendo in awe from atop of his horse, was hit by a wave of screams, sounds of scraping metal, breaking bones, and a scatter of earth, blood, and bits of flesh. He almost lost his balance and steadied himself in the saddle. The battlefield morphed into a tempestuous maelstrom, where the clash of steel and the cries of the fallen reverberated through the valley. Amidst the chaos, Maxentius keenly observed. His cavalry grappled with the relentless onslaught, the infantry seemingly distant and ineffective, stretched westward beyond their capacity. Concern etched on his face, Maxentius turned to his generals and said, "Our cavalry falters. They need assistance." The generals, in swift conference, ordered the nearest legion to redirect and aid the embattled cavalry. Spears lowered, the legion shifted eastward, advancing toward the unfolding turmoil. One of their flanks was facing Maxentius, while the other was exposed to the hill from where Constantine's cavalry had emerged earlier. As the legion moved to engage the enemy, the woods to the north revealed a silent and ominous horde. Constantine's infantry silently emerged from the northern woods, advancing with disciplined precision down the hill. The exposed flank of Maxentius' legion acted as a beacon, drawing Constantine's forces toward the vulnerable underbelly. The soldiers, trapped and realizing the imminent threat, struggled to carry out orders, torn between aiding the cavalry and defending their exposed side against the advancing enemy. Constantine's formidable infantry, wielding gleaming spears like fate's heralds, attacked the exposed flank. The clash, a symphony of steel and sinew, echoed through the valley. Maxentius's legion was getting maimed, his cavalry routed, and both were now being pushed by Constantine's advancing army towards the river Tiber and Maxentius's position. Retreat options were scarce. Atop the hill, Constantine surveyed the unfolding spectacle of warfare. Maxentius's cavalry, battered and ensnared, crumbled under the surprise and relentless charge of Constantine's mounted forces. The legion dispatched to aid the beleaguered cavalry found itself under the ruthless assault of Constantine's infantry. The grand army of Maxentius, incapable of cohesive action, was cleaved in twain, those on the west side of the battlefield being too far from the action and playing no role in the unfolding events. As the battle unfolded, the solemn grey skies yielded to the radiant sun, casting its glow upon the brutal spectacle below. Bodies strewn, horses in frenzied gallop, steel glinting, and the earth stained with hues of blood. Constantine turned to his generals and ordered the next phase of the battle plan. A second infantry force emerged from the east, swiftly advancing upon Maxentius's embattled cavalry, struggling by the fortified riverbank. Maxentius's archers, previously ineffective, now had a tangible target. Arrows flew eastward, pinning Constantine's soldiers. Despite the archers' efforts, the infantry made it within striking distance. A devastating blow was dealt, pushing the enemy's cavalry toward the river. Simultaneously, Constantine's cavalry, receiving the signal, thundered westward and struck the beleaguered legion from its rear. In the chaos near the Milvian Bridge, Maxentius witnessed his legions disintegrate under Constantine's strategic mastery. His forces retreated to the wooden pontoon bridge over the Tiber, a focal point of catastrophe. Amid pandemonium, Maxentius, once authoritative, stood alone in the monumental failure of his grand design. As he sought escape, the bridge became a tumultuous artery of retreat. In desperate flight, Maxentius urged his steed forward. The noble steed stumbled on trembling planks, plunging horse and rider into the Tiber. Weighted by armor, Maxentius succumbed to destiny's currents, marking the poignant end of an empire. Above, buzzards and crows circled, competing for the spoils under the sun. Lingering survivors faced a grim choice: possible treatment or a swift end by the blade. Prisoners, stripped of arms and armor, huddled defeated, grateful for life amidst chaos. A scene replayed across centuries. Victorious, Constantine rode through the gruesome aftermath, a somber witness. Elated soldiers, a stark contrast, cheered their emperor as he passed on his horse. Shields, adorned with the Chi Rho, waved in triumph amid fallen solemnity. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens, Constantine reflected, observing life and death's ballet. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Approaching the pontoon bridge, word reached Constantine of negotiations proposed by Maxentius's generals across the Tiber. Open to ceding Rome in exchange for their lives, they sought an end to bloodshed. Acknowledging the toll, Constantine consented, ordering proper burials for the fallen, including Emperor Maxentius if found. With the bridge cleared, Constantine hoisted the Chi Rho banner, a potent symbol of Christian influence. His traverse across the river denoted more than a mere physical transition. It signified a symbolic initiation into a novel era for Rome. The cross, iconic symbol of burgeoning Christianity, proclaimed the advent of a renewed epoch under the reign of Constantine the Great, the newfound Emperor of Rome.